If I thought Biden or Trump were great candidates, I wouldn't have run for president. I ran because I thought I could do a better job.
You don't think he's a good candidate?
I think he is the Republican nominee, and I think put him against Kamala Harris, who's the Democrat nominee. For me, it's not a question.
Victoria, what do you hear in these comments?
So one of my favorite pieces of advice that I've gotten is listen to what people don't say. And in that interview, it was very clear what Nikki Haley did not say.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, what do you think of that nonverbal message?
Oh, come on, stop it. I mean, just, if you want to be a political leader, for heaven's sake, be one. Just stop it. There is no comparison between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on any planet. Just stop faking it. You made your bed, now own it. Say Donald Trump's the guy, I'm going to ride it. Just stop the noise. Just stop the noise about it. Own the moment, because that's where you are. The rest of us are owning our moment. Liz Cheney's owning hers. Why can't you own yours, Nikki? And just that there's no comparison between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris on policy, on the Constitution, on governance, the rule of law. You know that. One of them tried to overthrow an election. One of them didn't.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this interview that happened on CNN between Trump deranged CNN anchor Miss Kate Bolduan and Trump senior advisor Danielle Alvarez. Now, the only reason this interview is happening in regards to the questions that are being asked is because Nikki Haley decided to open her mouth once again in an effort to low-key sabotage Trump, okay? And this is something that Nikki Haley has done more so than actually campaigning on behalf of Trump or saying positive things about Trump or telling the American people why they should vote for Trump or doing what she should be doing if she actually wants Trump to win. But she really doesn't want Trump to win. And the only reason that she doesn't have the cojones to come out and tell the truth about how she actually feels, like most of the anti-Trump Republicans, such as Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger, is because she's planning on running for president in 2028, okay? She believes that she can thread the needle, okay, and pretend to be on Trump's side by reluctantly endorsing him while at the same time low-key trying to sabotage him. So when 2028 comes around, whether or not Trump wins or loses, she can play both sides, right? If he loses, then she can say that, well, I was never really MAGA, okay? I was never really on board with Trump. The only reason I endorsed him is because I promised that I would endorse whoever the nominee would be. And Trump was the nominee. I was just fulfilling a promise. I really didn't do it because I wanted to, okay? I told you guys how much of a threat Trump was and how much I disagree with him, okay? Now, if Trump wins, she can come out and say, well, I endorsed him, right? I endorsed him and I helped Trump win, okay? I swallowed my pride and did what I had to do, okay? And that's the game here that Nikki Haley is playing, okay? She's being the quintessential sneaky politician, right? But she's really trying to undermine Trump, and that's essentially what she's doing in her latest comments about how Trump and J.D. Vance need to be careful, according to her, about how they talk about women, right? Women like Kamala Harris, in which apparently you're not supposed to treat Kamala Harris the same way that a man would be treated if a man was running as the Democrat nominee, the same way that Trump is being treated right now, okay? No. You can't do that. You can't do things like call Kamala Harris dumb because that's going to turn women off, okay? And this is something that this CNN anchor confronted a Trump senior advisor on, and the Trump senior advisor refused to bend the knee, right, to this idea that the GOP, they need to soften their language on Kamala Harris. Take a look.
Nikki Haley does not like the demeaning comments that Trump has made about Kamala Harris, and she said as much yesterday in an interview. Let me play this.
I think it's because Donald Trump and J.D. Vance need to change the way they speak about women. You don't need to call Kamala dumb. She didn't get this far, just by accident. She's here. That's what it is. She's a prosecutor. You don't need to go and talk about intelligence or looks or anything else. Just focus on the policies. When you call even a Democrat woman dumb, Republican women get their backs up, too.
Do you agree with Nikki Haley?
Well, I think the issues should be the focus tonight, but the reality is that Kamala Harris's failures on the issues is the reason why she is incompetent, whether she's a man or a woman.
Right, and that's
Her
what Nikki Haley
failures,
is saying.
her
But do you
tie-breaking-
agree that it doesn't help Donald Trump when she calls him when he calls her dumb?
I think it's important to call a spade a spade. I think Kamala Harris is absolutely incompetent for the failures of the last 3.5 years.
You think
and
she
she's
is
peddling
dumb?
lies. And I believe that she is peddling lies when she talks about turning the page. She is currently the vice president in the White House. We need to turn the page
Telling
from her.
telling
We need to go
mistruths,
back.
Danielle, is not equivalent to being dumb. You would then be making a statement about Donald Trump as well.
I think
if that
she
was
is
the case.
absolutely
Do you agree with Donald
incapable
Trump?
of doing the job that she is auditioning for? I absolutely think that she is incapable of doing the job that she is auditioning for. I believe that Americans know that she is incapable of doing the job that she is auditioning for because she is currently in the White House and failing. Inflation is higher than it has been since before she took office. Housing is unaffordable. The southern border is open. We are in wars abroad. She is an absolute failure, and she is dangerously liberal, and that is what we will prove tonight.
If the position of the campaign is that she is incompetent and dumb, that is setting a bar somewhat for where things are, where you think the bar is tonight for Kamala Harris.
She is absolutely incompetent on the issues.
Danielle Alvarez, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, so I think that Danielle Alvarez should get a gold star for the way that she handled that interview, right? Because it was absolutely perfect. This is how a female surrogate, this is how a Trump campaign advisor that is a female should be handling these types of questions, right? When the media comes out here, they start boo-hoo-whining and crying, talk about racism. Trump called Kamala dumb. He shouldn't do that because she's a woman. This is exactly how it should be handled, right? Never accept the narrative that the media is trying to push, right? At no point ever did Danielle Alvarez, unlike Nikki Haley, acknowledge that that's what Trump said, okay? Or acknowledge that it was wrong for him to say that, right? Or that he should change his language and yada, 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 right? Which is what Nikki Haley did, right? And when Nikki Haley, as a prominent woman in the GOP, when she comes out and says stuff like that, what she does is that she basically confirms that, okay, yeah, what Trump is saying is wrong, right? Like, this is out of bounds. Even though, in my opinion, I do not think it's out of bounds. And the reason why I don't think it's out of bounds is because I believe in equal rights, right? Unlike these so-called feminists, right? These people who are supposed to believe in women and men being treated equally. I actually believe in that when it comes to politics, especially when you're talking about being the leader of the country. And what we clearly have here is a double standard between men and women in regards to what you can say about men versus what you can say about women, okay? Because apparently calling Kamala Harris dumb is out of bounds, but calling Trump Hitler is not, right? Saying that Trump is Hitler, he's a threat to democracy, he's an adjudicated rapist, he's an orange tangerine, he's a white supremacist. All these things apparently not out of bounds, right? For you to say about Trump, okay? Some of these insults are personal insults about his weight, about his looks, his skin color, okay? And apparently all of that is in bounds, right? That's okay, okay? That's totally fine. I've never seen CNN confront a Democrat or any liberal propagandist about whether or not it's okay to call Trump Hitler, right? To compare Trump to Hitler. Is that okay to do? Even after the failed assassination attempt in which President Trump almost got his brains blown out for the world to see, they're still saying the same things. And the media is not asking questions about, well, is this out of bounds, right? Is this something that we should have in our politics, okay? Especially considering how you can argue that the president almost lost his life because of the deranged rhetoric from the left, right? No, they don't ask those questions. They never say that, right? But if you call Kamala dumb, if you say that she's incompetent, oh, that's a bridge too far. You're being too harsh. Well, if we're being too harsh, how in the hell can Kamala Harris be the president of the United States? If Kamala Harris can't handle being called dumb by her political opponents, then how can she handle a meeting with Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un? Like, how can she handle any of the adversity that she is going to encounter as president of the United States? And in my opinion, this is the biggest thing holding back women from breaking the so-called glass ceiling when it comes to becoming president of the United States, right? When people ask questions about why is it that men are reluctant to vote for women to lead this country, is stuff like this. It's because women get treated with kid gloves. They're not held to the same standards as men. You're not allowed to criticize them the same way that you can criticize men, but yet men are supposed to vote for somebody that's not battle tested to be commander in chief, to lead this country, when apparently you're telling us that these same women that you claim are qualified to lead this country can't handle being called dumb, right? You guys remember in the GOP debate when Vivek Ramaswamy called Nikki Haley Dick Cheney in heels as criticism of her foreign policy?
Between you and the candidates we just heard on this issue, on what you would tell the prime minister?
Not in terms of what I would tell the prime minister, no. In fact, I would go one step further. The founding vision of Israel was based on the idea that they don't want to depend on anybody else's sympathy or direction in defending themselves. So what I would tell Bibi is that Israel has the right and the responsibility to defend itself. I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him as President of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border. That's his responsibility. This is our responsibility. That's how we move forward. But I want to be careful to avoid making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past. Corrupt politicians in both parties spent trillions, killed millions, made billions for themselves in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, fighting wars that sent thousands of our sons and daughters, people my age, to die in wars that did not advance anyone's interests, adding $7 trillion to our national debt. And Joe Biden sold off our foreign policy. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, got a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. That's why we're sending $200 billion back to that same country. The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first, or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which
Ramaswamy.
case we've got two of them on stage
Mr.
tonight.
Ramaswamy, thank you. Senator.
Instead of the media focusing on the actual real criticism, which was foreign policy, they focused on the fact that, oh, that's sexism. It was sexist for Vivek to talk about Nikki Haley's heels, right? When Nikki Haley's whole campaign was built on, I'm a woman, right? And I'm a Republican, okay? Her talking about her heels. Oh, now all of a sudden a man uses that against Nikki Haley, something that she's been weaponizing throughout her whole campaign, which is vote for me because I'm a woman, right? Same thing Kamala Harris is doing, okay? Oh, all of a sudden, oh, that's out of bounds. You can't do that, right? You can't do that, okay? Again, it's just, it blows my mind. It really does. And it's a frustrating conversation because as men, a lot of us get called misogynist, sexist, bigoted because we don't want to vote for a so-called strong woman to be president of the United States. And you better believe this is what they'll be boohoo whining and crying if/when Kamala Harris loses the election. The same thing they were doing with Hillary, right? After Hillary lost, the first thing they did was they blamed sexism, right? They blamed men, okay? This is what they said. It was misogyny. But every chance the so-called strong women get to show us that they're in fact a strong woman, right? And that they're basically the same as a man, right? They can do all the things that a man can do, including take criticism. They show us that no, they're not strong, right? They actually show us the exact opposite, which is that they're weak and that they're frail, right? And that is what's happening every single time the media comes to the defense of people like Nikki Haley and Kamala Harris. Anytime they get criticized in the same exact ways that men would get criticized. I mean, in fact, they never get criticized in ways that are worse than the way Trump gets criticized. I mean, let's keep it 100. The things that Trump has been called are much worse than anything that Kamala Harris has been called or Nikki Haley has been called. But regardless, my point is this, is that they show us every chance they get that they're not strong women, that they're actually weak, right? They're actually some of the weakest people on earth, right? All of these so-called strong women, they show us just how weak they are because anytime you criticize them, all of a sudden, no, it's a problem, right? It's bigotry and it's hate, okay? You can't even call Kamala Harris incompetent, right? It started with, oh, no, you can't call her a DEI hire because that's racist, right? And then you say, okay, well, we're not going to call her a DEI hire. We're going to say she's incompetent. No, you can't do that either, right? Because calling a black woman incompetent is also racist. So there's nothing that you can say, right? Let's keep it 100. There's no criticisms that you can levy against a woman. You can't, okay, without being called a bigot. But yet you're telling me you want me to vote for you because you can do the same things that a man can do, right? And you're just as qualified as a man when you're showing me that you're not even qualified to take criticism like a man. It's ridiculous. And the honest to God truth is that I wish Nikki Haley would stop talking to the media, right? I really do. I think she would just be better served. Just don't talk. Go back to your cave, okay, in South Carolina, your beach house, wherever you come from. Do that, okay? Because every time she talks to the media, she's throwing Trump under the bus. That's what she's doing. As a prominent woman in the GOP, coming out and saying something like that, you're basically acknowledging that, yeah, Trump and JD Vance, they're being sexist, okay? They're offending women. Instead of saying, no, this is not offensive. This is politics, right? I mean, things are going to be said, but you got to have thick skin, just like a man has to have thick skin, right? I mean, it is what it is. But instead of saying that, no, she's not saying that. She's throwing Trump and JD Vance under the bus once again. And quite honestly, I'm sick and tired of it. If Nikki Haley doesn't have 100% positive things to say about Trump, then she just shouldn't talk. And I'm saying that because you've endorsed him. You're saying that you want him to win. So when you go out in public and you speak, you need to be acting like somebody that actually wants him to win. You're acting like somebody that's trying to play the game. You're acting like somebody that's trying to play both sides so that you can potentially try to run in 2028. That is what Nikki Haley is doing. And it's so obvious to anybody that's paying attention. And that's what really pisses me off about this, because the way that Danielle Alvarez handled that interview is the way that all women in the GOP should be handling any questions accusing Trump or JD Vance of sexism simply for criticizing Kamala Harris in the same ways that a man would get criticized. But again, in this country, they want us to believe that women are just as qualified as men to do anything, except when it comes time to them to actually be held to the same standards as men, they fold almost every single time. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.